Friends. It is your friend Lisa coming to you here this evening with another chat, and super glad to be here. We've had a really great day here on the farm. I love pounding steaks, y'all, and that's for flower support netting, and that is like one of the jobs that I still do because it is so key. And I did it today, and it just is that feeling of a job well done, and I'm super happy. And look at all this gorgeousness, just layers of buckets everywhere around here from the harvest today. We're getting ready for our show tomorrow, and we have our once a year in-person workshop here on Saturday. And so they get to make a bouquet and cut flowers, and anyway, so we're just super stoked. So tonight I'm going to chat about something we hear a lot about, and it's, are there too many flower farmers, right? And we're going to discuss a little bit about the abundance of the cut flower market, actually. And so you know me, I'm very candid, very transparent, very truthful. And so that's what I'm sharing with you here tonight, is my take on this whole situation after being a flower farmer for 27 years. Are there too many professional flower farmers / cut flower growers? Heck no, there are not. And I will tell you that building a business takes time. It is hard work, education, and getting up and doing it over and over again. And I'm just going to tell you the bottom line: few people make it to the other side of doing that. And they drop like flies. And that's some of the things that I have been talking about this week. And this is not just in the flower farming business, y'all. This is in the business world. And people just they just get tired, they get exhausted. And I'll tell you, I shared this last night. I interviewed Lenny Larkin earlier this week about her new book, and we're working on a project together. And we actually did 2 podcasts. And one of the things that we discussed was how surprising it is to us how many people coming into the flower farming industry, which from outside, us looking and evaluating, it looks like it's going really well, but they simply just disappear. Lenny Larkin, who is actually the author of Flower Farming for Profit, the new book, she was in California, in Sonoma. You want to talk about, that's where all the big flower farms are. That's where there's super high pressure. And Lenny just shared how she sweated bullets because she felt so surrounded by other flower farmers, but she put her head down and did the work. And when she came up for air, she launched a little different business model. When she came up for air, guess what? Most of them were no longer even around. And friends, this week I have been talking about this stuff because our most popular flower farming school online offer is being offered this week. It's called The Bundle. It's my course and Dave Dowling's course put together for one low price. And I'll share the details later after I'm finished with my rant. But if you want the details and get on out of here, you can actually just comment bundle right here in the comments, and it'll actually DM you the link to go and check out all of the details that you want about that. So this week, every night I've been live, and I've been kind of trying to talk about some of the different issues that we see are holding back people in their flower farming business, whether it's from starting it at all, or they've started and they're just kind of circling, they just really aren't moving forward. And also sharing that pretty much all of them are resolvable by focusing and getting the correct information and moving forward. So the first of the week I spoke about how this land of plenty that we live in now, where there's just endless resources of all different qualities. Are they true? Have they done it before? Who do you listen to? If I could put the emoji up right now with the circles and the eyes like we're going in circles, I can't tell you how many people we talk to that are living that. Folks that are that don't know that information's available, or guidance and courses and books and all these things that of how you actually find your way. We hear from those people. So that's what I talked about earlier this week, about how we lose a lot of people, and a lot of people never get the chance to take the dive because they're just gathering up, if you were a squirrel, gathering up all the nuts all over the internet. And then you have such a pile, you just don't even know where to start, and you just get overwhelmed and think it's not possible. And that's a big one. Then Tuesday, I shared my personal flower farming story because there was no person less qualified than me to become a flower farmer. I didn't even come from barely a gardening family, much less a farming family. I was a budding gardener when I discovered flower farming, and I just knew that I'd found my dream. So I shared that story on Tuesday, and it's actually here on Instagram, for that person that needs to hear that you don't have to have a tractor, you don't have to have a greenhouse. Still don't have greenhouses. I got a tractor after over a decade. But just sharing my story to help people to understand you get qualified by learning and doing the work, right? Doing the work. I would be willing to say that the lion's share of all successful commercial cut flower growers, that was not their chosen profession, whether they went to school or to college or not. That was not their job. That was not what their path was when they were a young person. This is a learned profession, but you have to learn it, y'all. And then last night I talked about overwhelm leads to people quitting. The title was like, it's easy to start a flower farming business, but it is pretty hard to keep it. And that's because it's so easy for us to slide into a flower farming business. I mean, right? It's just gardening on a bigger scale. I have heard that so many times, but it's so much more than that. In fact, I believe that the flower is only about a third of the business. The other 2/3 is everything it takes to actually make it a business, selling the flowers and that whole process, right? Then those people, once they get in, without knowledge, they get so overwhelmed, they quit. And I have to tell you this little story. I haven't told this story for a long time. Years and years ago, okay, because I'm in the middle of the city, and I'm an urban flower farmer, and that connects me to a lot of people. I would gander, it was probably over 10 years ago, I got a message, I'm sure it was email because we didn't even have social media back then, right? I got a message from a girl, a lady, I don't know how old she was, that had started her flower farming business. She also lived in a city. And she only didn't just start flower farming. I mean, she got chickens. I mean, she was like going all in kind of on this whole farming thing. But she had skipped a really important step. And that was she hadn't even checked with her city ordinance to see what it was she could or couldn't do on her property. I mean, that's the land of the law, right, y'all? And it was 2 years before somebody knocked on her door. And I won't go into the details of the long dragged out story, but she was no longer a farmer 2 years later, and she was really, I mean, it was a horrible situation, totally avoidable, totally shouldn't have happened that way. And so that's what happens when we get started in this flower growing thing without the backstory of what needs to be done. We get overwhelmed, and then we just kick the bucket. Tonight, I am talking about, are there too many flower farmers, right? So I believe this tale that there's too many flower farmers is based on one, social media, where there's a lot of people looking like maybe they're being flower farmers, but perhaps they're not. But it's also really based on a lack of information and experience. And I will definitely say, you know, there are certain markets, and when I say markets, crowded markets, meaning in certain places, hot spots. And that is surely true. But we also see business-minded flower farmers coming together to work to take care of their customers' needs. And, you know, I'll talk about it in a little while down here, but it's like, y'all, competition is the best thing to ever happen to you. And when you're a business person and you put your head down and do your work and stop looking at what other people are doing and make yours the best product, the best offer, the best service, the best everything, they just drop like flies, y'all. I'm telling you. Anyway, so I want to talk about the 3 areas that I believe that we need more understanding in to really grasp this. And I think this is what's missing from so many people that have jumped in and gotten started, and they're trying to sell their flowers perhaps in some of the real obvious ways, and it's just not working out for them. So the first thing is business in general. You know, that's just business. That's not flower farming business, just business. The second thing is the cut flower industry and what that's all about. And then the third thing is what some of the niches that are in addition to those classic ways that flowers are sold. I think people really have blinders on and they just don't even really realize it. So first off, let's talk about business in general, which is my mantra, y'all. That's where that's the part that makes I enjoy. I love growing flowers. I'll tell you today that being out in the field, pounding steaks while the team was cutting flowers, and other things were going on here, I just couldn't have been happier. I mean, it's just a very incredibly rewarding profession if you are one of the ones that make it. So, business in general. First off, did you know that there's 8 billion people in the world? I didn't know that number. I looked it up. And that's a lot of people. And by you or me being the adult in our business, right? When you start a business, y'all, the buck stops with you. You know, you're the one that makes all the decisions. You're in total control. And that means that you can make the choice to make decisions based on facts, not social media, not unknown things on the internet. And I want us to just forget about flower farming for a minute and just think business. And think how many, and you know, I'm sure there's somebody out there that lives in a town of 200 people and this won't be true for, but the majority of us, how many drugstores are in your town? How many hamburger joints are there? How many shoe stores are there? How many doctor's office? How many gas stations? Take a step back. We think our market is so saturated. We are a BB in the Astrodome, y'all. Think about that for a minute. And people have choices. And when it comes to business owners, we have to create the top quality. I mean, that's what makes you choose where to go to the drugstore or where to go buy your shoes, right? It's where perhaps for you, it's the best deal, or it's the best quality, or it's the best customer service, or it's the way you feel when you go in there. Everybody has different choices. And our goal as business owners is to provide what keeps the people coming back. And so this is what I compare what a lot of people, and I know this, y'all, because at the Gardener's Workshop, we actually answer the phone, as well as, we have a customer service manager that takes and does the emails. We talk to these people and we see how little knowledge many of them have that are already trying to sell flowers. This is a great great example of what I think of. If I woke up tomorrow morning and said, you know what? I think I'd like to open a copy machine store. I'm going to go lease a space, get some machines and start selling them, even though I know absolutely nothing about them. And how ludicrous does that sound to you? Would I sign a lease? Would I get stock? Do you know what I mean? And I think sometimes we get so intoxicated with what drives us into this business. I love flowers too, y'all. We just really have to take a step back and really think about this from I don't want to call it a grown-up position, but that's really it. Isn't it the dad or whoever that has to step back and say, wait a minute, no way we're going to Disney this year. Do you understand that we had to put a roof on the house this year? Somebody's got to have the big picture, right? Well, that's what I'm encouraging you, that's a missing piece for a lot of people. And so that's business. I just want you to look around when you're riding around town and think about all the different choices. How many Chinese restaurants are there? How many burger places are there? Start looking at that kind of stuff, and it will reassure you that we are far from too many flower farmers, as I will talk about more now. So let's talk about the cut flower industry. And so I just went earlier this week, went online, and this is reported by the Utah State University, the extension department there. These numbers, listen to this, y'all. Americans buy about 10 million cut flowers every single day. Did you hear that? They are already buying 10 million stems of flowers a day. It's not even like we have to convince them that they need to buy flowers. People are already doing it. Okay, and so it says 10 million stems a day are being sold in the Americans. It also says that floricultural sales across retail outlets reported, and I think this was in 2022, $6.43 billion. Let's just round it. $6.5 billion with the B dollars in flowers sold. And that was reported from the National Agricultural Statistics Service and the Society of American Florists. These are facts, y'all, is what I'm just trying to say to you. 80% of that is imported from distant lands. What does this mean? There is no ceiling, y'all. I'm sorry. 80% of 6 billion is coming from other places. We don't have to convince these people to buy flowers. They're already buying them. Our job is to figure out how we can provide and get those people's business. And here's the part, I mean, this is really what it comes down to. And you just have to figure out how to tap in to what is already taking place. I mean, can you think about that for a minute? It's not like, I mean, so often, you know, I watched so many, we had 2 people here in our community that would show up at farmers markets. Both of them sold salsa. One was a mango-based salsa, and the other one was a no tomato. It was all pepper salsa. And I watched, because their booths were at different times right beside us at the farmers market. I had to watch them convince people to take a taste. Like, oh no, I don't like peppers, or mango salsa? How? That sounds ridiculous. We don't even have to do that, right? So in my little world of business, I see that there is absolutely no ceiling. What does that mean? That means there's no limit to what we can do. We just have to figure out how to reach them. So what that means, and I'm sorry, y'all, I do have notes here that I keep glancing at because I am trying to stay on point here. What that means is that being a pro, growing top quality crops, harvested at the right stage, and I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole right now. And here's the rub, in my opinion, that customers can purchase easily and have access to. I will tell you, not in the Cut Flower Handbook, but one of my previous book, Vegetables Love Flowers, I actually had to purchase flowers from a flower farmer who is no longer, and I can almost tell you why. And they had a way for me to do that without talking to them. And it was the most complicated, and I am 63, y'all, so I'm not Miss Tech, right? But it was the most complicated process that I kept saying to myself, how bad do I have to have these flowers? It was a crop that had failed for us or whatever, and I had to have them for an image. And I can't tell you, you have to put yourself in the place of the customer, of what does it take? I mean, nobody even wants to talk to people anymore. You should want to talk to your customers because that's how you really win them over, right? But you have to really make things simple. Some of the processes that we expect people to go through are so crazy because they are so complicated. And I also want to say there are far fewer domestic working professionals than you think. There's a lot of people playing the role, but there's not a lot of people actually doing it. And there are so many success stories, and I actually whacked off everything I was going to say right here, but I want to say this. There's so many success stories that are quietly happening in the background, because I'm telling you, friends, a lot of these people, one of the persons that I learned about, you know how I'm the sunflower person, right? We grow, plant them weekly, and that was a huge cash crop for us. I mean, it was like the icing on our flower farming cake for over a decade. You know who I learned that from? A flower farmer that lived in the, where was she? Southwest, I think. That she didn't even have a website. She wasn't on social media, but she had a huge rockin' business. The people that are doing the business really aren't even the ones that are on social media. So I'm just saying to you, everything is not what you see. You cannot necessarily believe everything that you see. And I think sometimes in some of the private groups, there are such big numbers in some of those that scares people. Just put it aside, y'all. So let's talk about some of these niches that a lot of people, so I just want to say again for people joining us late, we read here just a minute ago, I don't want to mess up my facts, y'all, that Americans buy 10 million stems of flowers a day. This was reported by Utah State University. It's an extension university. And that was $6.5 billion spent in the United States in 2022. And it is slowly growing and getting bigger. So I'm just trying to reassure people that there is opportunity. And then there's just so many opportunities that, you know, you see the obvious ones, you know, farmers markets. I will say that Dave Dowling built his business. He was a commercial flower farmer for 20 years. He was in the DuPont market in Washington, D.C., which was an incredible year-round market. And that's what built his farm. There are farmers markets that are big, amazing. We have Williamsburg Farmers Market here where I am, and it is another just huge one. I have a friend, Amy's Garden. If you want to look up, she's an organic vegetable and flower farmer. And flower farmers are her gig, but she's in markets that have lots of foot traffic, and she grows amazing stuff. So, but people think farmers markets first, right? Because that's what you see. But there's so much more. I tell you what I see as the real, that's the up and coming star in the cut flower industry here in the United States is collectives and co-ops. That is groups. This is those smart business flower farmers I was mentioning early that are getting together, that are in the same region or even in the same city or the same area, coming together to provide for the commercial customers in a way that is super convenient for the customer, but guess what else? It's even more convenient for the farmers. The farmers aren't out there pounding the pavement selling their flowers. It's basically, in a nutshell, a type of model like a wholesaler is, where flowers are flown in and they sell to all the florists. It is a wholesale model, but it's all local flowers, usually either run or own or collectively run by local flower farmers. It usually has paid positions. I see that as the real future of getting into the commercial markets, because again, some florists, and we know from Ellen Frost, who is of course our Baltimore-based design studio that only has used local flowers for 15 years year-round in her design studio. And she'll tell you how many different flower farmers she buys from. And it can be daunting, but she was committed to it. Not everybody is. We have to make these models to make it super convenient for your customer. So collectives and co-ops is the big, I see as the next big developing model of selling cut flowers. And I tell you another one that a lot of people just skip right over. Kind of like how they skip over sunflowers and think that they're not a really big cash crop, which is not true, are subscriptions. We did a pretty big business. We did residential and business, and that is a really very interesting model that can be tweaked in so many different ways. Dave spoke one time on one of our lives about Dave Dowling, who's no longer owns a farm. He's actually a cut flower specialist that works for Ball Hort. He sells seeds and plugs and all that kind of stuff. So he does nothing but talk and help flower farmers all across the country. That's his job every day, right? He told us about a farmer in the Northeast during the pandemic that had hundreds, I think 700 jumps in my mind, subscriptions. Y'all, there are so many opportunities. I mean, I thought I was doing well. That is an amazing business. Subscriptions is just one of many ways that you can do that. And then I developed a private market. And what I mean by that, I had to get around my city ordinances. I had to be legal, and I wanted to sell my flowers, and I wanted to sell them retail. And I developed a private flower market here on my farm that was totally legal with the city. And I ran that for 22 years. And we had waiting lists of people waiting to get in them. And there are so many ways to sell flowers that you probably just don't even know about. And then, again, about those known ones, there are great farmers markets where people do tons of business. And then, of course, selling to florists individually, not through a co-op. There are just so many. I mean, who do you think is buying those 10 million stems of flowers a day by Americans? It's a mix. And I will tell you that my personal model that I followed is I figured out that I wanted to grow what florists, because that was the lion's share of my business was florists and supermarkets. I wanted to grow the flowers that they used every single day of their business life. And we see people growing lots of specialty colors, maybe not so much crops, that just really aren't in demand for day to day, but yet they're more for events. And when events dry up, there's so much to know, y'all. There is just so much to know. Let me just move on here. And the magic, like I was speaking of earlier about being out on the farm today, pounding steaks and being with the team and bringing all these beautiful buckets of flowers in here for teaching people on Saturday on how to become a flower farmer, to be a flower farmer. When you push through the hard stuff, which is the learning, Dave and I were talking about the other day, we actually had to read all the books. We had to read all the magazines. We had to go to all the conferences to get any information. And I think that's why we have such a broad base of knowledge, right? But when you push through the hard stuff, that's when you get to the magic, y'all. And I'm telling you, it is pretty dadgum amazing. And when you stop comparing yourself, and I still fall victim to this, y'all. Stop comparing yourself to others because they're stealing your joy. You are giving away your joy, actually. Put your head down and do the work. What do I believe it takes to be a successful flower farmer? Staying power, putting in the work, education. This is not physics, y'all. It's not rocket scientists. A little food for thought. Those that, and I've said this already, that are out there doing the work aren't even on the social media most often. There are a lot. I'm on social media, right? It depends on who you're selling to, what your business model is. You are in control of that. So, just think about if you could start your business alongside someone that's already gone before you. And that's what Flower Farming School Online is all about. That's why it was born back in 2018 when I launched it. I wanted to take what we were teaching in conferences and have it so people could go back in and listen again when they're in a different place in their business, and most importantly, get continued support. And we do that through private communities where if you can't find the answer, and I'm telling y'all, our schools are deep and wide. My school is called The Basics, Annual Crops, Marketing, and More. It's the foundation of getting your business started. Teaching you what to grow, low investment, high return, how to get what customers to look for, how to behave, not behave, but how to do that and look like a pro, even though, fake it till you make it kind of stuff, right? What to grow, how to condition, harvesting, how to start seeds commercially. I grow primarily annuals. I never left that arena because I am a small space farmer. And you get the biggest bang for your buck out of small space. You can't fill up your garden with perennials and woodies because they only bloom for a short period of time. So that's my course. And then Dave's course is bulbs, perennials, and woodies and more. And that course just takes you over the top. And I want to say again that you can comment bundle here and it will just DM you the link directly to the page that describes it all. And you can actually get a sneak peek into 2 sessions, one in each of our courses, to have a little look. And the community support for all of this is really what makes the difference. I know for me in my business life, I have mentors that when I'm up against a wall, a hiccup, a speed bump, or a big old pothole or a ditch, sometimes just either, going online and connecting with them, or just going back and reviewing some information. It's like, oh yeah, looks like maybe they were having that problem too. I just didn't recognize it until I saw it in myself, right? So Dave's course is bulbs, perennials, woodies, and more. So once you get your business up and running with my course, then you start layering more things you can sell to your same customers. And friends, I will tell you that you put the skin in the game, and we provide all the information and the support. And I can't bring up, obviously, the page here for you, but I'm over there looking at the bundle page, and there's a great comparison chart. Both courses, normally individually, the courses are $695 each. And I know that's a lot of money, but that is a BB in the Astrodome compared to what you save by not making mistakes and by the potential money you're going to make by applying this to your business. And I can say that we have thousands of students, and I'll be doing some showcasing of them tomorrow night when I'll be live at 8 p.m. on Friday. And you have to do the homework before you can go out and play. Even though going out and growing those flowers and cutting them is not play, people tend to think it is. And by doing the work first and getting it out of the way, funny enough, the first class, so let me just tell you about online courses if you're not familiar. Online courses are just like buying a book. You buy them, but instead of picking up the book to read it, you log into your online library wherever you have internet. And you log in, and then up comes your library, and there's all your courses if you bought multiple courses from us. And I will say that's what we see happen on our platform is once people come in and get one course, they end up buying multiple courses just because, friends, we kind of are where the rubber meets the road. It's not a bunch of fluff. It is the facts. It is school. It is the information that you need to actually grow. So you log into your library and up pops all of your courses. You go into your course. Each course is broken up in different ways. Our schools are broken up into 6 classes / modules. And each class is got multiple sessions in it. And then there's bonuses. There's frequently asked questions, which I recommend people really listen to that. You can listen on your phone to our courses because we have an app. You can listen like they're podcasts, but I definitely recommend that when you're listening to the frequently asked questions because there are literally thousands of them, and it's of your instructor answering those questions. So that's the way the course looks. You can go in, you have unlimited lifetime access, which means as long as there's internet, your courses will be there. And you can watch them as many times as you can. And this is what we hear, and it's my personal experience with the online courses that I take. You take it today, and you speed through it. You think you learn a lot, and you go to work. 6 months from now, you're like, gosh, what am I going to do about this? And it's like, maybe I did see something in that course about that. You go in and you look. My course is keyword searchable. I mean, you can go in and put a word, and it brings up everywhere that's talked about in the course so that you can find out what you need. But what you soon learn, the real pricelessness and timelessness of these courses is as your business develops, your needs change. And all of a sudden, something that you just skimmed over the first time you sat down and took the course, you didn't even pay attention to, you are in need of that now. And it's in there ready and waiting for you. So my course is the basics. Dave's is the expanding on the crops. They're $695 a piece. However, For this week only, we have brought the bundle back. We're calling it the bundle week. That's my course and Dave's course. Both of them together, $1,150. That's a savings of $240. And first, it is a business expense if you actually start a business, no doubt about that. And I just want to talk just a minute about the actual courses and how is it you get the information. Friends, you have to consume the content. My recommendation for success is to sit down with your calendar and pick 90 days and commit 4 hours a week. I would be willing to say most people, especially if you're on here watching me, you probably scroll for 4 hours a week just like I do. You know, looking at what other people are doing, getting ideas, thinking, doing all the other things we're not supposed to do. Carve out and commit 4 hours to build your business, to build the foundation that could affect the rest of your career. And go through it. And then what you're going to find is every winter is when I sit down and re-go through my courses. I don't listen to all of it. And here's a tip. You can actually listen to the courses in 2 times speed. You might not want to listen to Dave Dowling at that speed because he already talks so fast. But friends, this is really important stuff for the future of having a sustainable cut flower business, is really getting educated. And so you can comment bundle, get the link in your DMs, and go right over to the bundle. I do also want to say that there's tons of customer student reviews, and you can go over there and read them. And so just to recap, each course individually you can purchase anytime for $695. This week only, you can get both mine and Dave Dowling's course for $1,150. And we do offer 100% money back guarantee for 7 days from the purchase, for the first 7 days after the purchase. And, you know, we just would love to see you on the inside. And I want to just reassure, particularly people that really want to do this and they're dreaming about it and they think that they really have the gusto to do it. They just feel like they don't have the knowledge. This is your roadmap. This is what will carry you along the way. You know, we see so many, I mean, everybody has to learn, right? And you make mistakes along the way. But we know that the vision that there seems to be, or that I call it a tale, that there's so many flower farmers out there isn't really exactly clear and true. We need more professional flower farmers, and this is the stepping stone to actually do that. I think one of the things that I love the most about the online courses is that you become a part of a community forever. We don't boot you out after 8 weeks or 10 weeks. You get to stay in there with your peers, and your instructors spend swimming in there. And you know, so here's the way. This is the way that I do it in the courses that I take, and that I recommend my students commit that time to digest and take the actual course. Don't go get lost in the community. Don't go over there and start asking a bunch of questions. You ask the questions first in the course, meaning you search for those, you watch the course. Most of the questions are answered in the course. Almost all the questions that I get asked in my private student group are in the course, most often. Not all the time, but most often. So that's your first go-to. Then the second tier is to go to the frequently asked questions and keyword search and see if it's in there. Then, if you still need help and you're struggling, go into the community. The communities are really about supporting each other. I mean, people commiserate in there. They share their wins. Somebody just came in the other day, and I'm sorry, y'all, my nose is really itching. Not sure, my nose is getting stuffy all of a sudden. I'm sure it's the sweet peas that are behind me. One of the students came in and said, I just took my first flowers to the florist. They bought them all. They're so excited. They can't wait for the next. And that was really my first experience, too. She was like, I think she even said something like, I told my husband, but I knew that y'all would understand better than anybody else. This is what carries you through the potholes, y'all. There are potholes throughout business. Business is not easy and it's not quick. When you get in those ditches or in those potholes, or you're up against something you just don't know what to do about, this is where you come to ask. These are people that have the same goals and have put the same rubber in the game, right? So friends, I'm gonna get off here. And so we just don't want anybody to not know about this. Please share this with your friends. If you know a friend that's in need, the cut flower industry needs more flower farmers, quality, professional, getting experience and learning along the way, cut flower growers. And we're here to help you do that. And and I want to also mention that, here on my farm, I'm in Virginia, southeastern Virginia, we have a once a year open farm, and the people literally come from all over the country. It's a one-day event. Our warehouse is open, which is about 4 miles away, and my farm is open, my little farm. And we welcome people from all over. We started 2 years ago, I believe, having a private party from 8 to 10 in the morning of coffee with your instructor. And so our students, so my students, Dave Dowling's students, and Ellen Frost's students get an invitation, which that doesn't happen until early June, get invited to come to sign up for that. And so you get a private tour of the farm and get to hang out and just chit chat with the best part of that is the other students. Last year, Dave and I looked at each other, it's like, oh, what are we, chopped liver? Just kidding, you know what I mean? Everybody loved seeing people that they've only heard on social media, So anyway, if you join up with us, you too would be included in that opportunity. So all right, friends, hope you take the sneak peek, comment bundle. If you want to take a sneak peek in, the bundle is only available until midnight Eastern time. Today's the 16th, right? Tomorrow is the 17th. I think it's Friday of May, 2024. And I believe it's the 17th. Sorry, y'all, I should know that. It's been a long pounding day, right? And we'd love to have you join school. So friends, till we meet again, ciao.